Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Riv. Well, we had an action weekend this weekend. We had right after our illustrious buffoon mayor, who never, who tells only half truths or lies, uh, was saying that after the last shooting and stabbing, that Florida's a safe city. We had another shooting and another stabbing. What a surprise, right?
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it made both the. If you guys haven't read the article yet, it's Channel 10, Channel 12. If you've got the news app on your phone, or if you know that they do have both of them have reports. They
It
have,
just made the Herald News. It
they've
just made
had
the Herald News as well. So
yeah, they've had pictures of the. They've got pictures of it, but the sterile news. Who knows? They'll probably make that into a propaganda Paul thing with the excuses. So Paul was on. I know you watched the debate, and I got uh, he again said crime was down, and we know that crime. Listen, we know that these statistics are always manipulated. When they don't want crime to be high, they'll fudge like they've done it. Look, and I'm not saying he's doing anything different. They do it everywhere. They do it in all the blue states. It's like an art form. New York City, even the FBI was accused and has been. They don't do it anymore now. I guess that Patel took over, but they manipulated their statistics under the Biden administration, and they freely admitted it
right.
ultimately. So, but it's not done. Yeah, you're right, Jeff. He's a functional illiterate. That's and to think that he was involved in education is almost the reason why you can see why students can't learn anything, because it's always a it's always some kind of deflection or diversion. He's got 6 years to show, and he's got nothing to show for it. And he says things like crimes is not down 40%. They're not. And then, of course, on the other side, I guess Valenti. And listen, let me say something. I don't know about you, CJ, but Gene Valenti is a very, very good reporter.
Yes, he is. Usually.
Very good interviewer.
Yep.
Very
Usually
good. Always has been. Has been a political reporter there for decades, and I have seen him interview some very high profile politicians. He asks good questions. They're probing, and this debate was nothing, even with a great moderator, because you couldn't get a straight answer.
That was the
I
problem.
was very
But
disappointed.
in all fairness, he couldn't get a straight answer out of Boomer either when asked for a plan.
No, I said that's what I just said. Yeah. I was very disappointed.
So was I.
In that response, because look, I understand he's not somebody who's a professional debater. He hasn't been in politics his whole life. He's under he's going to be in front of a camera, but that's when it comes to debate prep. You and I have done a lot of debate prep for people.
Yes, we have.
We've had some people that were very successful in doing it. But I was really, really, really disappointed, because to me, that was an open question to just take Coogan out right at the beginning.
I agree.
All he had to say was, well, Gene, I would like to give you specifics, but I can't, because the first thing I have to do is a forensic audit, because nobody knows where the money is in Fall River, and nobody has any idea where it is, and you can't run a budget or say what you're going to do, your roof first or something else first, until you know how much money and discretionary cash you have and where the money is. What I can tell you is I will prioritize public safety. He has not brought the fire department up to standard even after the catastrophic fire. He's talking about bringing it up, the police department, over the next 2 years. That is not acceptable. And I mean, after that, Paul would have been ruined. What is he going to say? Can he rebut that? No, he can't rebut it. Fundamentally,
and
you
you know what?
could have you could have
Paul
toasted
turned
him.
around and said, I didn't just respond about staffing. I was in negotiations. I was in discussion with the union prior to that event.
Yeah, but
Prior to that
Manning.
event.
But listen,
They're always in
Manning.
discussion about Manning. You and I both know that.
Listen, number one, Manning is not a mandatory subject of bargaining. You have no, and after he sent the letter in violation of the law
That's right.
lied about the arbitration, who can trust him? Do you really believe they were talking about Manning? And what has he said? Let's look at Manning. Like I said, now we're going to have our debate, and we're going to show how we would have ripped them to shreds and prepared them. If he would have mentioned that, you know what he should have said? He should have said, well, after the fire, you talked about it. We haven't heard anything since. And what was your plan? 10 years to bring the complement in the fire department up? It has to be up now. We have to give our firefighters at least a minimum safety level, and our citizens a minimum manning level for safety. Well, I mean, it was just like softballs, like watermelons thrown up in the air, to just gut this guy. This guy is the worst mayor we have ever had. We had to look for stuff on Flanagan. We had to dig up a lot of people were not happy with the promise to do the repeal the water fee. We knew that the purple bags were doing, but there were a lot of other issues, and we created. But this guy, 6 years of doing nothing. I mean, if with any kind of proper debate, he could have toasted him in his opening statement. Fundamentally,
yeah,
I was very disappointed in that, because look at Coogan again showed that he's a total incompetent. He never answers a question directly. Everything he says is a generalization or a half truth. And frankly, it wasn't taken advantage of, and we didn't get a lot of solid input from Boomer. It was a very disappointing debate, in my opinion.
No, and the thing is, as popular as Boomer is, okay, a lot of people feel the same way. They're not getting information. They're not getting enough information. The one thing that I thought was interesting was, and this was a mistake that I would have taken Boomer to task on before he even entered the debate. He brought up the case between him and his daughter and the school system. I would have never brought that up. And Paul Coogan turned around and said, you lost that case. You lost. I would have never brought it up. I would have never brought it up. I wouldn't, number one, I wouldn't have put my child in the crosshairs. Number two, if you didn't win or you're still in appeals, don't discuss it.
Well, you're right, and that should have. I don't like this other stuff of bringing up political. That's they're always going to say that's an attack, but that's Coogan's feeble in his delusionary mind of defending the fact, like he said, there's no crime in Fall River. Oh, we only had, we've only had 2 murders. Only 2 murders. Only. That's 2 murders too many, Paul.
Yeah, and remember, they were domestics.
People who were murdered.
They were domestics. I'm sure the families have a problem with that.
I'm sure that callous disregard for their feelings, those 2 families are really feeling great. That Paul was like, when he talked to Josh, saying, hey, not everybody's got a bullet hole in there. Don't, why are you concerned? You only got 1 bullet hole, nobody, not every, every time he opens his mouth, he shows that he's just a clown. He got his job in the school department through political patronage. He got the vice principal's job because he knew somebody. And he's just demonstrating every time they put him in front of a camera that the man is incapable of even the minimal degree of leadership. He's just an absolute dud. He's a train wreck. He just, everything he says only reinforces what a waste he is. It's like, oh, we only had 2 million. That was like Pritzker on when he went on Brett Baird's show, who's a very good interviewer too. And Brad put up a thing on a screen showing the crime rates in all the major cities in the country that have high crime rates. And Chicago had the highest crime rate in the country per 100,000.
I gotta stop you for a second. This is just broken. Fall River Police Union president alleged the 2024 crime data falsely dropped due to tracking changes. 10 months into 2025, and after our first fact, Fall River's 2024 crime data is now easily accessible to the public on the Fall River Police Department website. The data shows mixed results. The bad rapes, robberies, property damage, burglaries, and larcenies are up. Rapes up 25%. But don't worry about it. It's a domestic rape.
Oh, God. Talk about damning.
Yep. The good. Violent crime, aggravated assaults are down big time. But are violent crimes really? Down 24%. Was total crime in Fall River down 0.86% in 2024? Not according to the rank and file members of the police and union head, Jonathan Ferreira, who claimed crime is rising in a report published earlier this year. Last year in Fall River, there was a battle for police chief.
Wow.
And the union voted no confidence in Chief Paul Garvin, who agreed to step down. Mayor Coogan, City Administrator Seth Aitken, who has since resigned, and the Director of Human Resources, Nick McElhaney, picked Kelly Furtado to be the next interim chief. Almost immediately, Chief Furtado launched an investigation into Garvin. The city of Fall River hired an investigator who produced a long report that came out early in 2025 that resulted in Garvin being fired. Garvin is currently in hearings for his unemployment benefits, which the city has denied him, and another hearing to get his job back. There's a good chance Garvin gets back pay and goes back to work at the Fall River Police Department. What I found interesting in the investigation report, on page 51, paragraphs 125 and 123 and 124, the Fall River Police Department Union President, Jonathan Ferreira, alleges misrepresentation of dropping crime statistics in Fall River, and that the system Fall River used for tracking crime statistics changed in 2024. He stated a change in the tracking system meant that crime falsely appears to have dropped. Officer Ferreira stated that former Chief Garvin began taking public credit for the drop in crime, crediting his leadership rather than the new system for counting crime. Officer Ferreira called former Chief Garvin's statements dangerous for officers because officers believe the rate of violent crime was actually increasing in Fall River. Here are 7 statements. Paragraph 123. Officer Ferreira stated that a few events preceded the union's voice of no confidence against former Chief Garvin. Officer Ferreira stated that the union was upset with former Chief Garvin over allegedly retaliation against leadership.
Okay, I think we got the point. Yep. I think we don't have to go deeper into why they got a hard on for Garvin, but the fact is that, listen, we before we even started reading this report, we said that data can be manipulated, and now that the police department is saying that we have a lot of crime in the city again, Paul Coogan lied again. Paul Coogan blatantly lied about the thing, but even with this reduced crime, rapes are up, as you said, other things are up, things that affect people directly, break-ins. It means there are more criminals roaming our streets. It's only a matter of time, but those criminals are not interested in shooting anybody unless it's you in your house or stabbing you if you try to prevent them from stealing your goods. The bottom line is the quality of life in Fall River is not good. Paul Cougar's
No.
been in there 6 years. He's done absolutely zero. And he lied his ass off again. He is an incompetent, he is the worst mayor in the history. He may be the worst mayor in the history of mayors since they created the office of mayors. I have never seen such a worthless buffoon in my life. And every time he goes on one of these shows, he proves it. He proves it with his bullshit stories. I mean, we've only had 2 murders. Only. You got families that were affected by those murders. Friends. I mean, that cavalier attitude. Oh, Nelson's record. Good thing. There's a guy that he looked at and said, oh, shut up. You know, what are you talking about? You live in public housing. Another demeaning statement. The man is a pseudo-elitist. He thinks the regular people in Fall River don't count. He's been kissing major political ass since he was born. That's how he got all his jobs. The only people he worries about are the people that can do Paul Coogan a favor. And they made him mayor.
That's right.
This is the problem. This is the problem. You got a guy that couldn't lead a one-man parade running this city into the ground, and the horrifying perspective is he could get another term.
That's right.
This clown is going to be a long-term mayor. We go through fire, police chiefs. We go through. There's always some kind of drama, and there's never an answer to the people of Fall River. How many lawsuits? He's talking about he lost that suit. Paul, how many lawsuits did you lose? How many lawsuits did you settle in this city? I will tell you right now. You let us and you give us the true. Let us investigate the true stats. We'll hire a neutral arbitrator. I will bet you've lost more of those cases than you've won, or you settled them out of court, which is the de facto admission that you lost. This is nuts. I'll tell you, I can't. I'm just, my head's gonna fly off. I've never seen anything like this in all the years, and I've been doing. I've been involved in politics, negotiating with these people all the way back to our man Carlton Viveris. He was the mayor. Every mayor in between, I negotiated with.
Actually, Louis, you're under. It's $88 million.
Yeah, you're a little under, but that's counting the county money.
That's right.
You're right, Lewis. Yeah, you're right. It was 70 some. But remember, Lewis, listen, we got $7 million lights on Duval Street and benches, even though we were going to get them for free. He doesn't give a shit about the people. Yeah, see, this is the whole problem with that stuff. It should have never went anywhere. I mean, it should have never been discussed. It should have been focused on what he did or what he didn't do, which is like, well, you can't actually cover what he didn't do because that would take 6 years.
Right.
That debate would have to last 6 years. But, there are appeals. Those things are not settled technically if there's an appeal. I mean, yeah, you've got a verdict, but if that verdict is under appeal, yeah, they wanted to but they won't tell the people. And I can't even imagine how many lawsuits we got. Didn't CJ just say that the rapes are up 25%?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I mean, the city could actually be sued for like basically lack of maintaining an adequate police presence, just like they can be sued for not having an adequate. There's another lawsuit that's out there. The lawsuit on the tragic fire we had. If they've got a good lawyer, this city's going to get hammered. If they had a great lawyer, a guy that was a specialist in that field, this city would be on the hook for literally millions and millions of dollars.
But I
honestly say that without hesitation.
I honestly believe that the law firm or firms that are handling those cases are out for the quick buck.
You're right.
I don't think they're out for the big dollars. I think they're out for the quick buck.
Yeah. No, I
And you and
agree.
I both know if they do these as class action cases, okay, everyone but the victims is going to make money. Everyone but the victims is going to make money.
Yeah,
because
the
that's how
victims
it
will
is.
make some money, but I'm disappointed. But I mean, look, it's hard. It's hard for people. They're under a lot of trauma. Obviously, they lost a loved one. They're going to go look
Right.
for a lawyer, and they watch TV commercials. Come get hooey, dooey, and screwy. But you got to, they don't realize. Unfortunately, they couldn't talk to somebody who knows that. Like in a criminal case, if you've got a major criminal case, you just can't go out and get a local lawyer. You got to go get a big. I don't know what the dog is barking at, but she's disrupting the thing. But Abby, I know you're agreeing, but we don't want to hear you. But you have to get a specialist. There are specialists in this type of lawsuits. I happen to know one. We actually had one for a lawyer. The man settled multi-million-dollar suits in different cities for lack of adequate manning, lack of adequate equipment. He lectured all over the country on it. As a matter of fact, I went out to Colorado once to a seminar he gave, and I spoke to a few people out there too. But he was lecturing on that stuff, and a guy like that would have taken his city to the cleaners. His name is actually on the 1710 standard. He was one of the people who drafted the 1710 standard. He was one of those people who wrote that standard. So do you think if he walked into a Fall River courtroom and started arguing compliance with the 1710 standard, somebody was going to beat him? He wrote the book. He was one of the authors. But if they would have got a lawyer like that, I mean, this city's going to take a hit. But I'll tell you, those people lost a lot of money, and the city saved a lot of money because they went out and got, a firm that advertises on TV. Guys like these specialists. You ever see an ad for? I'm not talking about the ambulance chases. Rob so and so, call me. I settled a lawsuit for a guy that got into an accident. Not an ambulance chaser. Have you ever seen Robert Reddington have an advertisement on TV? No.
Nope.
Big time criminal lawyers.
That's right.
They got too many cases. The same thing with guys that specialize in this kind of stuff.
They don't need to advertise.
They don't need to advertise. As a matter of fact, I had a discussion with him about the case, and he went, "Wow," he says, it's so bad. He said they could be on the hook for multiple millions of dollars in this case. I mean, everybody was on the hook for this. And he wrote the incident command. Guy's been involved with this stuff his whole life. He's an expert in public sector law, but especially fire and police. And this is the thing, we got this guy in charge of the city, and it's just making me crazy that this guy has any kind of chance of getting another term. The fact that he got 2 more terms after the first one is just, and then you look at that performance, disrespecting, we only got 2 murders. It's always with him. It could have been worse. It's like Pritzker. I was talking about Pritzker. Brett Baer showed him the stat. And you know what Pritzker's response was to that? Well, we reduced the murder. We reduced the number of murders. Yeah, but you're still number 1 in the country. Stupid. But that's a political response. That's a Coogan response. Well, we don't have a bullet hole in every house. Well, you're still number one in the country. They had, and Brett Baer looked at him and said, "Look at the graphic. You're number one in the country." And what did he say? Like a typical Cooganite Democrat. But we reduced the murders. Yeah,
but he's
you
part
did.
of the club. He's part of the club.
But that's not the point, is it? You're still number one in the country. Chicago is a killing zone. It's the killing floor by Lee Child. But I mean, you looked at this and it was like, Jesus. I mean, this guy, you could just turn him into, and the thing is, Gene Valicenti is a neutral moderator. He's not from Fall River. He has no alliances with either party. But that's the other thing about the problem with the debate. That's why you got to do really good debate prep. And with this guy, the prep should have been on basically turning him into rubble in the opening statement, because all you had to do was just attack the fact that you can't even give a definitive plan yet, because I can't tell you if I've got 3 major projects on the horizon. I can't tell you if I can do them all this year, if I can do any of them this year, and in what order I can do those things until I know exactly how much money I have to spend. And that was your opening, the forensic audit. All you had to say was, Gene, I can tell you I'm prioritizing public safety. I will bring the police up to Manning. I will bring the fire up to Manning. Prioritize education, public safety, the quality of life for the citizens of Fall River. But I can't tell you exactly what the program will do until I know how much money. And this man has run the city into the ground, and he's almost doubled the budget. And that's the end of him. He can't refute that. There's no rebuttal to that. There's no rebuttal of this city is flush, because he can try to bullshit. And after that, it'll be all the Socratic method of debate, and just basically posing questions to him. Let me read this. You can't trust any reports, especially on crime, because crime is a major political issue in virtually every city that has crime. I mean, it's not a major issue in these bedroom communities like in Martha's Vineyard, although it is, because if there's a crime in Martha's Vineyard, it's like when the illegals came in. They got to get it out. They'll hire like 150 more cops in Martha's Vineyard if they had like some serious crime over there.
Like that.
Yeah. So, but they always fudge statistics. New York, everybody knows about New York. They said, oh, too many shootings. So what did the police department and the mayor say? But if they don't hit anybody, don't classify it as a shooting. Really? But they did. And it's been proven. That has been corroborated. So statistics, liars, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. I know how you manipulate statistics too. It's easy. They do it in the fire service too. I know some departments that were very, very slow. They didn't have a lot of fires in their city. At the time, Fall River was like number 2 or number 3 every year in fires. We had hundreds and hundreds of fires that we could document because they were real fires. We had more than 500%, nearly 400% more arson fires than New Bedford. But what those communities used to do is when they had an alarm, like let's say we have a box alarm at the industrial park. So they send 3 pumps, a ladder truck. I don't know what the response is now. It could have changed, so we can't quote me. But it used to be like 3 pumps, a ladder truck, the rescue, the chief. And we used to count that as one call, one run in our statistics. Those other communities used to say we had 6 calls because they gave every engine that went there, that was considered a call that engine responded to. And then the 3 engines all got a call. The ladder truck got a call. The heavy rescue got a call. The chief got a call. They all put that in. So now they get the number 6 down in their report instead of 1. People were caught doing that all the time. You can't trust these statistics. You got to trust your non-lying eyes. Now, that stabbing incident was what, CJ, in a 300 block of North Main again?
Yes.
Isn't that where we had multiple shootings a couple of years ago?
Yes, it was. It started the 200 block of Pine Street, which I believe is right next to your son's office.
Yes.
And proceeded to the 300 block of North Main Street.
Yeah. Well, I know that very well. My son called me. He had about 6 or 7 patients that were hiding in his office when they heard gunshots. So really good for business, by the way. But then they had a couple of more shootings. They had 3 or 4 more shootings in that area within the next couple of. Didn't Sam Sutter, when he was running for mayor, go down there and have a press conference?
I believe so.
Yeah. And did we ever hear much about that from Coogan?
Nope.
What a surprise. So I get, like I said, I just hope. I don't know how people can.
Main Street, just so people have an idea where it is.
Okay.
400 North Main Street is the Social Security office.
Yeah.
Okay?
Everybody knows where that is in the city.
And everybody knows where that is. So think about that.
Let me, we're segueing into something, CJ. I wasn't real thrilled some of the quotes you used from some of the dummy Dems, but I did. I got to run it. I got to pull it up again on my phone here. I loved the 2 quotes again because you're back to really good, great politicians and people who were really sharp and knew stuff. You opened with the weekend, which the weekend flush, by the way, you guys. It was good. He talked about CJ talked about the debate. He talked about Will and about people. Just let's wait, but you can read it. It's good. This is the quote: "A politician needs the ability to foretell what is going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year, and to have the ability afterwards to explain why it didn't happen." In other words, that was Winston Churchill.
Yes, I thought that was cute.
In other words, to be a politician, you got to be full of shit.
That's right.
You got to have bullshit up to your eyeballs.
That's right.
And if any politician has anything else except brown eyes, they're wearing contacts because they're at least up to their forehead in shit, and shit's brown. So every politician must have brown eyes. So that's a great quote. They will tell you everything they're going to do, everything that's going to happen, and they're like the Oracle at Delphi. And then when it doesn't happen, they forget about it, or they'll explain to you why they didn't get it done, like Gavin Newsom with like $200 billion for the bullet train, and it still doesn't have any track laid yet. And you closed with another one by a great Greek philosopher, Socrates. I'll tell you that up front. Socrates. Some people don't know who Socrates is, but one of our greatest philosophers. Quote: "I was really too honest a man to be a politician and live." So that's another great short clip. In other words, if you tell the truth and you're a politician, they're probably going to try to kill you, like they did with Abraham Lincoln, like they tried with Trump. If you tell them what they don't want to hear, they want you dead.
That's right. They want you out of here.
And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk, who wasn't even a president, just because he was a very influential guy that was bringing people to think about politics in a different way, and he debated them very clearly. And he was assassinated. So listen, Socrates lived thousands of years ago. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, those guys, things don't change. They say if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. You had some smart people in history. If you don't pay attention to what they said, it's still true today. He's right.
That's right.
He's right. And so was Churchill.
It's truer today than it was then.
Yeah. And even guys like Groucho Marx said some good stuff. I don't have the quote up now, but I can paraphrase it. He said, politicians are good at creating a problem where there's none, studying it, spending a lot of money, and never solving it. So
Ed Lambert.
Oh, but I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Ed Lambert, all the way.
Ed Lambert, yeah. That was a major news, especially with the other one. It was a young kid being shot. Yeah, but that block was like a war zone. It was like a war zone. I think my son went to his office, went to the front door of the building his office is in, and I think he actually saw the. I don't know why he went there. I said, you didn't have a flak jacket and a helmet. I don't know, there was bullets, right? But he looked out the door and he actually saw, I think, the guy who they first arrested. I think that guy got himself, but he did see people running in the area. And but I mean, this is what you got. And Coogan's pretends like this stuff never happened. This is what really bothers me. It's like he's like, what? Me worry? He's like Alfred E. Newman. On the cover of Mad Magazine.
And remember,
me worry?
If I remember correctly, that happened under Paul Coogan's watch.
Yes. Yeah. It's like they had those shootings, and Paul made a couple of ridiculous statements, and it was done. It's crazy. I mean, we got to get people. I don't know how people can stay away from the polls. How they don't feel like this massive freaking pushed for them to get off their ass and send a message.
Well, what's the decision, Nelson?
Yeah, what's the decision? Give us at least a brief. I don't want the whole thing. It's probably 27 pages long, but in respect to, and we know who is involved in a Port Authority, don't we? Yeah? CJ?
Yep. Ken Fiola.
Uh-oh. Oh, wait a minute. Really? Let's see. We're doing a little quick.
Well, there's nothing posted in Google yet. The audit is there, but nothing about the Attorney General. So I did a quick look.
I just looked it up. I didn't get anything on Google either.
Yeah.
So what is that? Oh, open meeting law violation. Okay, well, yeah, well, that's big deal. People will think that's a minor thing, but
they don't even consider that a violation of the law. They think it's just a matter of doing business.
Yeah, good afternoon, Linda. Yeah. Well, the problem is when they violate the open meeting law, they're messing up the entire process, and sometimes they violate it in a way that could have really, done something that's really not that shouldn't have been done because we don't know. But
well, didn't the former line peer believe they were exempt from the open meeting law because they're not a governmental agency?
I believe they did make that statement. I believe you're correct. That was their defense. Like, we don't have to comply. But apparently they were wrong.
Unless they decide to appeal this to the Superior Court.
Yeah, but these things don't. But like I said, look, let's look at what we got here. We got like the mayor oblivious. He pretends nothing in 6 years has happened in Fall River. Even if the crime did go down 24%, which it didn't, We were still in the top 5, in the top 50 in the country one year when he was mayor. We were in the top 5. We were number 1 a couple of years by some places. But it's like none of this stuff is actually happening. We're all delusionary. We're like Democrats now, even though I'm an independent and you're an independent now. We're all deluded. None of it, like he walks around like, shut up. You're exaggerating.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We didn't say there were 200 shootings this weekend. We said there was a stabbing and a shooting, which there was.
That's right.
And there was a stabbing and shooting not that long ago. There was a stabbing not that long ago and a shooting. And a former mayor still in the hospital because of that.
And we have senior citizens afraid to use the buses because if they got to go to the bus terminal, they may get jumped.
And what was his response? Oh, that doesn't mean Fall River has a lot of crime. Yes, it does. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. And then that stat about breaking and entering and stuff, that's huge. Because
right.
what destroys your quality of life in a city when you're afraid to leave your house because somebody might break in? Leave your car. I mean, on a corner of Prospect and Bedford. My car got broken into. I don't keep anything valuable in the car, but they rifled through the car, broke the window.
Did they take your pocket change?
Yeah, they took the change I had in my cup holder.
Right.
The guy got about 28 cents or something. I don't know, maybe 32 cents. I don't know, but rifled through my glove compartment, stuff like that. But I don't keep a lot of stuff in. Although he did steal a couple of tools. I forgot I had some tools in the car because I had worked on something, and it was in a car. So he stole a bag of a couple of tools that I had, but. And then I couldn't even get a police officer down there. I called the police and they said, file it online. And I filed it online.
Everything is filed online. Nobody seems to want to work in this city.
And that was a while ago, though. That was
I know.
But then they did let me know that they found the perpetrator. And I guess he'd been breaking into cars all over the place in that area. And mine wasn't the only one. But then again, remember, Paul said there's no crime in the city. So that's a disruption. Was it a big deal? Nah. But I had to take my car down, get the side window repaired, make an appointment, go through my insurance company, show them the police report. And then when people get their home broken into, they have valuables destroyed, stolen, maybe personal items that are very personal to them, maybe destroyed. Not a good quality of life. And that thing has gone up drastically. So, the city, and never, not one press conference, ever, like Will Flanagan had with Sutter as the DA, talking about what we're going to do about these things, what we're going to do about these statistics. And it's problematic when you have a mayor not giving you the truth and full disclosure. When the police union tells them that that's not true, who knows better than the police on the street? Because they're putting their life on the line every day. They're out there. They see it firsthand. They experience the stuff. And it's a sad commentary on the failed leadership of this administration. And I did talk about. And I know you talked about it, and I agree with you that you talked about Will Flanagan, and I don't think anybody's gotten any definitive word. And like you said, just let the man heal, and hopefully we just keep in our thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the normal order when they violate the open meeting law. And
Yeah.
didn't even have
Very
me.
rarely do they get fined.
Yeah.
It's always some perfunctory decision. I've seen enough of them. They're about 2 or 3 pages long, and it's very rare that they fine people.
I don't know. Maybe the AG will get a few calls from a couple of state officials saying, leave us alone. It was just a little mistake.
Everything's a little mistake.
I know. Don't worry about it. There's only one bullet hole. Don't worry. And everything, it seems like, I don't know, the stars are aligning. I mean, everything Paul says, like 2 days later, a week later, it shows that he was lying again. So this has gone through we had the catastrophic fire. There's still no movement on manning levels. We heard that from the fire department. Now we have the police department talking about that the crime statistics are bullshit. So, I mean, people, what do you need to get out there and get this guy out of here and all his cronies? I mean, give somebody else a chance. I know you can say, well, I don't know what these guys are about. Well, give them a chance to find out. I don't know.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Once you give a guy a chance and he screws up, you can't get rid of him. You can't get rid of him because people don't go out and vote.
Well, we can if we begin to
If
go out
we
and
get
vote
out and
again.
vote.
Yeah, we have to go out and vote again.
People don't want to accept responsibility for what they have.
Yeah.
You have Paul for 3 terms because you didn't go out and vote.
Yeah.
He should have been gone 2 terms ago.
Abysmal. And and this is by far one of the most inept, incompetent administrations I've ever seen, and who's paying for it? The taxpayers of the city of Fall River. I mean, I don't know. Look, you're right, and I see a lot. I just read an article on somebody commented online on something that the only way to fix this in the entire country, even at the national level, is implement term limits and not let them invest in the stock market and stuff, which is all true. But it's never going to happen. That's the problem. You have to get these people out of office and then get people in it who will pass legislation against doing that stuff. And I had to comment to the poster on that one. That wasn't, I was on X. I don't do Facebook, but I do go on X once in a while just to go you crucify some of these yo-yos on X. And I told the person who suggested that, I said, you're right, but it'll never happen. However, if you're going to put 3 things that they should do, I'll add a 4th. I said, you want to make sure that nobody wants to go to Washington ever again, that is not going to work for the people? I said, this is my 4th suggestion. A congressman and a senator's salary should be exactly what the per capita income in the state or district that they represent.
Sounds fair to me.
See if Orkin Kloss wants to go to Washington, if he can't invest, if he's going to get the average per capita income in the city, in the state of Massachusetts, or in his district. Well, his district, he'll probably get a pretty good amount because he's from Newton Wellesley area. Right. But it still won't be as lucrative as they take their health care. Everybody's complaining about health care costs. They pay 0, and they got the best health care system in the world. That's for life. So take that shit away. Tell people you want to serve your state, you want to serve your country. To go to Washington and pass legislation for the people. You're not going to get rich. Go up there, do a term or 2, and then you'll come home voluntarily because you're not going to become a millionaire like they all do.
And remember, they serve 1 day in the Congress or 1 day in the Senate. They get their salary and benefits for life.
And their health care.
For life.
And the pension.
That's for life.
For life.
So remember that, people.
So if you
And
ever
it takes
wonder
an
why,
act of Congress to change that.
that's right. And you ever wonder why some people who are really, really well-to-do and have really big businesses take an appointment to the House or the Senate when somebody dies or resigns? Very rarely they resign, but if they died, and then they say, I'm going to take this for my friend the governor, and I'm not going to run at the end of this person's term. It's because they're going to get a pension and health care for life, and probably better health care than they got. Even though they can afford it, they're still going to get it for free.
That's right.
This is the problem we have with government. And who is the only, what is the only group of people that can change this? The voters. The voters. And only the voters. If you don't, like you said, CD, if you don't show up, if you don't bounce their ass out, it's only going to get worse. And I don't know how much worse it can be than this guy, because
That's right. So just remember that. Well, let's talk about the government shutdown. We're almost at 1 month. We're 3 days away from 1 month of government shutdown.
Yep.
Maura Healey has announced that SNAP benefits, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also used to be called food stamps, will not be issued for the month of November. So you're out of luck. The food banks are already taxed. The food pantries are already taxed, and the soup kitchens are experiencing an uptick. Be careful to provide accordingly.
Yep.
And November is Thanksgiving month. And there may be no food stamps, no SNAP benefits. And that's going to be a problem for many people in Fall River. Many people in Fall River.
You're very welcome, Betsy.
Well,
but you know one of the problems we have, the Democrats that are holding this up for $1.5 trillion, to give illegals health care, to give money back to NPR, those propagandist news stations, and PBS, and to have circumcisions in Indonesia and trans shows in Bangladesh or something like that, with all those ridiculous things that they do. Those Democrats don't suffer any consequences. See, there are going to be some Democrats who are running for re-election who are going to be getting hammered, but because their constituency is going to be pissed. But in Massachusetts, they listen to Elizabeth Warren, who lies her ass off, Markey, who ran on term limits 175 years ago when he was elected. People like Auchincloss, they listen to them. They're lying. They didn't sign a clean bill to continue the government paying everyone and negotiate. They're holding out, not for the American people, but for their pet projects, their pork, and for illegals. That's why they're holding up the government. It's not the Republicans. I'm sorry. And they would not, and that is one of the first times the Democratic Party has said they're going to shut down a government. They can go back 20 years and show Schumer in front of a microphone crying that we should never shut our government down, and they're doing it now intentionally.
Right.
And lying about it.
And the thing is that they're saying it's because they're fighting for the ACA subsidies, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, because on November 1st, healthcare rates are going to double. I just had a conversation with my brother-in-law about that, because he's deciding that if his healthcare rates double, he's not going to renew. He's just going to go without healthcare.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's
okay, because if the illegals can get free healthcare, Why can't everyone else?
Yep. Well, he's right. But the problem is these people in these states like Massachusetts, they say that they're fighting for health care and they're fighting for illegals. They had loopholes. They destroyed, and nobody knows this better than you, CJ. You work in hospitals.
Yeah.
They're killing us, our medical system. They're the ones driving up the healthcare costs because they're
right.
in every emergency room. They don't have family. They don't have primary care physicians. You know what I mean? They're in every emergency room. And every time I've been to an emergency room in the last couple of years, and I've been a few times, I got when I went 3 rounds with the pit bull in my yard and got bit. I had to go to the emergency room, and it was loaded with illegals. They had a separate line for them, where somebody could speak some languages and stuff. And then I went for another issue I had. I gave myself. I didn't realize that English ivy, which came over from the next yard, was poisonous. It's not as poisonous as sumac and stuff, but I ended up with I looked like Elephant Man. I was cutting back the ivy, and then 4 hours later, both my eyes were shut. I had welts all over my head. So I had to go to the emergency room. And again, I was met. Some people would think that's good. They're probably laughing and saying, good. I'm glad that happened to you, but I don't care. But they're in the emergency rooms. They made loopholes. Biden made a loophole in the law that allowed them to get filtered through. The state even admitted it.
Right.
And the senator from Ro Khanna from California admitted it in front of a camera. He said, well, the money we spend on illegal health care is only part of that 1.5 trillion. So you know something? I'll take a small piece of 1.5 trillion because $1 billion is only a small piece. They admitted it. But then he lied again. And what happens? Elizabeth Warren is on all the time on X and mocking and all the rest of them just lie to these nitwits and they believe them. It's not true. No matter, they won't show that on MSNBC. They won't show that on CNN. They won't give you those stories. They won't show you those things. They won't show you Chuck Schumer 10 years ago saying we can't shut government down, 20 years ago saying we can't shut down government, 30 years ago saying we can't shut down government. But now all of a sudden, they can shut down a government.
Well, I'll tell you now.
I think he meant that, Boomer. I think he just meant he felt you should have been more aggressive. So
yeah, and we agree on that. We do agree on that. I want to bring up before we close the show out. I have a great deal of respect for teachers, but the Forum Educators Association, you missed the boat. Here's their endorsement for City Council: Michael Canuel, Paul Hart, Brad Kilby, Cliff Ponte, Andrew Raposo. For school committee, Randy Dudek. Haven't heard a word about him. Thomas Corey, political kiss ass. Mark Mollicone and Chanel Stewart. Heard nothing about her either. So, just so you are aware.
Well, I'm disappointed too. The Fall River School Committee is voting in the interests of their contracts, not the school children, in my opinion. And I'm entitled to that opinion. So I believe that none of those, Tommy Corey has done nothing but cover up shit, cover up rapes, cover up fights, cover up anything. The rest of these people are all, the same thing. They're going to vote for the people that will nod their head for the union and rather than do the job for the people of Fall River and give them what they deserve, obviously, but not leaving out people who are fighting for the people of Fall River and not endorsing them. To me, shows that I believe their priorities are upside down. They'll say, no, we're fighting for our
we've
membership.
seen this before. We've seen this before. So, well, Annalise,
Ciao. Ciao.
ciao. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.